And good evening, everyone. ESS, Empire State Sports presents the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show, live from New York State. And our host tonight, Joey Riem, Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Goslaw, and our interviewee, I'm beyond words, is Coach Welch, former SUNY Potsdam coach. Welcome aboard, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
If you look up Coach Welch on the internet, you wouldn't believe what you could find. I have never found so many things about somebody, and not one bad thing, to be honest with you, which is really good. But
well, that's because I'm broke now because I pay them off, you see.
I don't know if that's good or bad. So I'm going to do a little synopsis of you, Coach, and tell me if you can step in anytime you want, and then the show is all yours. So graduated from Messina High School in 1954, went to Ithaca College in 1958, master's at St. Lawrence University, 1964.
Mm-hmm.
Coaching career, coached for Messina High School and went on to Potsdam, then Iona. Your Potsdam record speaks volumes. 494 wins and 141 losses in a 22-year span. That's miraculous. What a win percentage that is. And I'll be honest with you, as a kid that grew up at Sam River in the North Country, we went to many games and couldn't wait to walk into the, now Jerry Welch gymnasium. Potsdam State has always been the mecca for the North Country for many years, and you have a big part of that, bringing basketball, college basketball, to the forefront in the North Country, and thank you for that. I could go on and on. The resume you have is unbelievable. Of course, you had 9 East Regional Championships, 60 consecutive win season, 6 different Hall of Fames you're in. We could go through that. I mean, the list just continues to go on and on. 2 national titles, D3 in 81 and 86, which I recently watched in the last month again on the internet. And it brought back so many great memories of the guys that played for you, Roland and all those guys, and 3-time runner-up D3 championships. I could go on and on, Coach, but this is your show, so I'm going to let Joey ask some questions, and we'll just feed off of that. How's that?
That's fine. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I think you could probably get going right now, Jerry. It's hard for me to top what. I mean, I'll save all the good stuff for later. I mean, I'm sure you've got a lot you want to talk about, a lot of people you want to thank and that you want to remember. Have at it. I know you're ready to go. I've talked to you enough. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, I want to mention that I was very fortunate to coach at Messina High School for 10 years. And we won a lot of championships with some great players there. And I had a lot of fun. I got very disappointed and saddened 2 weeks ago when one of my former players on my last team at Messina in 1968, Buzzy Lewis from Messina, passed away. And he was such a wonderful man and so forth. And we've been, all his teammates and myself, really spent some time together on the phone and so forth and talking about it, and with his wife Judy and everything. So that was hard on us because we were such a tight team and a group of guys that were so great. And I enjoyed Messina High School. Of course, I played there, but I'm originally from Chateaugay, New York. I was born in Malone Hospital, but lived in Chateaugay until I was like 16, I think. And then we moved to Messina. And I finished in Messina High School, graduated in 1954, and had a great time in both places. You know, very fortunate that I had some people that really cared for young people in both places and really tried to develop us the best they could in academics and sports, and more important as being a good person for the community. So I'm very fortunate to come from those two towns and do that. Please excuse my voice tonight. I've had a problem with my throat and voice, but we'll get through this, okay? I really was benefited too by the coaches that I had growing up in both Chateaugay and in Messina, and the people that really worked hard to make us all the best we could be. Back then, in those days, like in Chateaugay, we only had two sports: boys basketball and baseball. So we'd play 6 months of baseball and 6 months of basketball. They didn't have any girls' sports or anything. They actually didn't at Messina when I was there either. Thank God they put that back in about 1971, because if sports are good for guys, they can be just as beneficial and good for gals. So our female sports are really wonderful also. I went to Ithaca College. I always wanted to be a coach because my uncle Bill Fritz out of Chateaugay and Ellenburg, he later was superintendent of schools at Clinton and Essex counties. He was a coach, and I wanted to be a coach like him. On weekends when I was in 7th and 8th grade, I'd go to his house and watch the games and so forth, and he took me everywhere to do that. So I was very fortunate. And he went to Ithaca College, so I wanted to go to Ithaca College. He got a master's degree in educational administration from St. Lawrence University, and I wanted to do it, and I did. So I followed the same path almost as he did. And I was very fortunate to have not only leaders that helped me out when I was young and told me what to do, and told me when I did wrong to do it right, and so forth. And Jim Long and Dick Farrell and Bill Stevenson, and all these people were there. When we first went to Messina in 1958 to coach, they had some elementary schools. They had 7 elementary schools and 3 Catholic elementary schools, or 10. John Murray, who started the same year I did at Messina to coach, he and I started a youth basketball program. And we played on Saturdays, and they practiced once or twice during the week. We had 10 teams in the league, and Levine's gave us shirts for the players. And those same players that got interested in 1958, they followed us through in the junior high school and then the high school JV and so forth. So that program really, I think, developed us into, so in the 1960s, we won most of our games. And we had an undefeated year. Then we had another year that we lost only 1 game. That was the Salmon River Central. And John Francis had a great team. And we beat them that year. They beat us that year, but the next year in the the Northern League Championships at Appleton Arena, we were fortunate to beat them. But Johnny Francis was one of the best all-around athletes in Northern New York. Really great. After I got teaching and coaching, I really liked to work with the players. I think, and I'll tell you this, the fun isn't necessarily in winning. It's seeing the players have fun and develop, care for each other, work hard, get better, and take pride in work. And I was fortunate enough to have players like that they wanted to care for each other and they wanted to get better. And they did, because we worked hard in practice, and they worked hard on their game, and they were good students. And I was just fortunate to have the work with.
Coach, so what was the transition from Messina to Potsdam State? Did they come to you, or were you at that point ready to branch out, wanted to move up in the coaching world?
Well, I had watched Potsdam for years. My wife Kathy graduated from there, and I'd watched them. They had a coach named Lou LeGrand. And he was a really good coach, a really good person. He unfortunately passed away about 1.5 years ago, but in Florida, when he was in Florida. So he was going away for a year to get his doctorate, and Florida State, and they had somebody to come in to be an interim coach. So I was at Messina for 10 years and thought I'd take another challenge, and went over there and coached for a year while he was getting his doctorate. Then he came back and he took over the job for 1 year. And then I was his assistant. And then he decided to give up. He didn't want to coach basketball anymore. He was doing some other stuff. Excuse me. And so I took over and coached there for 23 years. And I enjoyed every minute of it. We had a great leader in Sam Molnar, the late Sam Molnar. He was the director of athletics. In fact, when he passed away, I was named the director of athletics and replaced him and stayed with coaching. But he was just a great leader. He was from Norwood originally, Molnar family, and just a wonderful man that helped so many people who was there. He coached basketball way back, and then he coached baseball, and he had a lot of great success too.
So, Coach, at that time, and was Maxie Hall up and running when you started as the coach?
No, we played our first. We didn't move into Maxie Hall until 72, 73. The first years we were there, I think it was 3 years that we, maybe 4, that we played in Merritt Hall. It was a small gymnasium, very, very nice gymnasium, and it was very small. And they had played there since they opened that probably 15 or 20 years before that. And we used to average, Mike Dean came to play with us, and Ted Bentz, and some really good players on the 71, 72, 72, 73, 73, 74. And Maxie Hall only seated 1,100 people. Merritt Hall, only 300 people, 1,100 people. Well, anyway, we used to advertise in the paper, don't come to the games, because of the fact 2 hours before the game, it was filled up with students. And we didn't want people driving 40 or 50 miles, couldn't get in the game. And we had some wonderful games there. The last game we played there in 71, 72 was against St. John Fisher, and they were very good out of Rochester. We defeated them in a very close game. Mike Dean came up to play, and he was just an outstanding player from North Rockland in Rockland County down near Tappan Zee Bridge, which is now the Governor Mario Cuomo Bridge. And in one game against RIT at Merritt Hall, he had 21 assists in one game. And this vice president saw me coming off the court that day, and he stopped me and he said, boy, you're doing a great job of teaching him how to pass. I didn't have the heart to tell him. He was a great passer before he came to Potsdam, and he was a great player, and later became a coach. He assisted me 1 year. Then he went to coach at various other Delhi and junior college, and then Oswego. Then he coached Siena and did a great job with Siena. He beat Stanford in the NCAA tournament 1 year. And then he went on from there to Marquette and so forth. And he really, and Ted Bentz and those players like that came along with him, really jump-started our program. Because after that, pretty much we got some other players who were just outstanding, wanted to play, and wanted to get better. Well, when we moved into Maxie Hall in 1972, 73, we really started getting more people at the games because of the fact the team was good. It was a beautiful place to play. And so we really had some good games in there. It seated 3,600, but we could put 4,000 in with it standing around up on the top. And we filled it quite a few times. Every time we played Albany there, we'd have to get in. They'd have to get there a couple hours before the game to get to eat, and it was fun. And success and student body support from all over Northern New York really helped us become the team that we were. And success breeds success if you stay on top of it. So the players want to play on a successful program. So that really helped us with in recruiting. Almost all of our players are from New York State. We even have some from Northern New York, quite a few from Northern New York, and they all did well. So we were fortunate that the beginning was good, and we built on from there.
Well, Jerry, I will speak for Pete and Dave on this. I don't know. This is probably about our 25th show since we've started doing this, somewhere around there. I would have to say, if we rank the top 10 things that have been discussed, Maxie Hall and your basketball teams are probably, without a doubt, close to number one, if not number one. We have talked many a times about Pete and Dave and I, the days of going, couldn't wait to get in a car and go to Maxie Hall to watch your teams play. And the legacy that Maxie Hall and Jerry Welsh Gymnasium has had for Section 10 when it comes to the girls and boys sectional playoffs. There's nothing like it in the state. And, you know, it's something that Pete and Dave and I, we look forward to it all the time. So we can't thank you enough for starting that tradition of how special it is to go to Maxie Hall for a basketball event.
I remember when we first opened up, and then when we have the sectionals there, and there was some question about, well, geez, we're bringing in people and this and that, and I said, well, we can make this very short. I said, we're hosting that tournament in as many games as we can get, period. All these young students in Northern New York, athletes and non-athletes, would see our beautiful campus, would see our beautiful facility at Maxie Hall, and would want to come there as students and hopefully student athletes. So it turned over so well, the first early part of it, that it's kept on to a current time. I remember when Sandy Cook was broadcasting press public address system there, and doing such a great job, and high school sectionals there, and everything like that. So we're fortunate that we have an arena like that, and we're fortunate that we have so many teams in Northern New York that want to use it.
Yeah, Coach, one of the things I want to discuss also is what would have been this year, the 50th year of your camp.
Mm-hmm.
All three of us have been several times when we were youth. In fact, I keep telling the story that Rick Carlisle was one of my coaches from Lisbon one year, and I can't remember for the life of me. It was my junior or senior year. But yeah, it was. So can you enlighten us when that all started, and what was the brainstorming behind that, and who put that actually all together?
Well, I feel funny in telling you this, but I don't like to lie, so I did. I'll tell you what happened. First of all, I'm going to go ahead a little bit. This year was going to be the 50th anniversary of the basketball camp at Potsdam. I started it in 1970, and this was going to be the 50th year. And we were going to come up for it, hopefully. We haven't been up in 6 years, but we're going to come up for it and bring all of our old staff back if we could, the coaches and so forth, and spend a few days there. And before it, days just before it is the reunion at Potsdam. But about 10 days ago, they canceled both all summer camps, and they canceled the reunion. So they won't be having it. Because there's no camp there this year, next year will be the 50th anniversary. So I hope I can get up to that. The first camp we had 100 students, young students, all day campers. And we went it all up. I remember 1985, we had 875 in 2 weeks. And probably 60, 70% of them were overnight campers. And it was great for Northern New York, for everything. It was great for Potsdam State because all these students that were at our camp and saw our facilities, our dining facilities, our residence halls, and our gymnasium and our arena, beautiful arena and everything else. Maybe many of them wanted to go to Potsdam as students or student athletes, maybe even in another sport. And so it was really, really good. We had a lot of great coaches come and coach at the camp too. I'm thinking of Ray Holmes, who was a great coach at Chateauguay and then later Plattsburgh High School. Mike Flynn there. And we had, I know I shouldn't have started this because I'll miss a lot of names. You know, Steve K-Mac and Steve Labarge and so many good coaches. Jerry Howerhand was up, and Bill Myrna, two great friends of mine and great coaches were there with us every year. And others that I'm going to leave out tonight, and I should have started with mentioning.
They'll understand.
Yeah.
They'll understand, Coach.
Yeah. But anyway, they still have the camp, and it's good. It's good. I also started a clinic there. I don't know if you remember it, a basketball clinic in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
I started, we'd come one Sunday in the fall, and we'd get about 350 coaches from Canada and the United States and so forth. And it was a one-day clinic, and we had about 7 different sections, about 7 hours, and then a lunch between. We started at 10 in the morning, and it went very, very well. Had a lot of friends through that too.
It's a great camp. I know one of the highlights, of course, you spoke in front of everybody, then all of a sudden Coach Welch was gone. And then everybody goes, it's almost like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like, and all of a sudden Friday you come back out and you talk to everybody. It's like, there he is. It's like the man himself left, and then all of a sudden he comes back on Friday, and we were such in awe as young kids when we used to go and watch the games. And the way the seating is in Potsdam is you're on top of the game, and you felt like you're a part of the game, and you were able to see. Of course, we always wanted to be behind the benches so we could see what was going on in the huddles.
Yeah.
Of course, we're all nosy, and it's like, oh, look at what's he doing down there. It's when I heard that you wanted to come on our show, I was in such awe, and it's like, it was an honor to hear that you wanted to come on, and I'm going, I can't wait to talk to him. I got a whole list of stuff that I wanted to talk about, okay. And we've already hit most of it up already, which is fantastic.
I remember when at the camp, I was usually there every minute of every camp, and by Friday when it was over, I'd want to hibernate for about 2 days. I was just so tired. Maybe the year that you're referring to was, I got some bad news on a Monday night. The camp started Monday, and I was staying overnight in the dorm there. And in the morning, 7 o'clock, I got a rap on my door with Steve K-Mac. He was coaching at the camp, and he told me that he just got a call. My father passed away. Well, I had to leave for a few days, and then I come back on Friday. And Ray Holmes and Bill Myrna and Jerry Howerhand, all those guys took over, and they ran a great camp as if I wouldn't even have to be there. But that's the only time that I had a minute out of it. I used to stay there all night in the dormitories, you know, so to make sure everything was okay and all that. But we had a lot of fun.
I can't get over this, how big it's become. I remember the first few years I went, you know, we had a lot of kids, but then my kids started going, and I couldn't get over the numbers of how many people are there now. It's such a popular camp. And you had a big part of that, and just only because of the Potsdam how good they did in the past, and Coach Welch was running the camp. You can tell everybody that other coaches ran it. You ran it. People went there for you, and there's so many there's so many things I want to say, to be honest with you, because growing up, I couldn't wait to get to the games. My father always called and said, "Get the boys ready. When I pull in the driveway, we're getting in the car. We're going up early, just so we could stand in line to get in there ahead of time." And I remember the Derek Rowland game. I remember the spoon when all the spoon came out. I remember the toilet paper.
I want to tell you a story about that.
I love those games, Coach.
I want to tell you a story about Spoon. Leroy Weatherspoon. Eddie Jacob was a junior with us from Notre Dame of Utica. And I had 3 All-Americans from Notre Dame of Utica before I left there. Well, anyway, Eddie said to me, "There's a player that plays on my high school team, Notre Dame." He said, "He's not starting, but boy, I think he's going to be a good player. His name is Leroy Weatherspoon." So I went and recruited him, and he came to us, and he started toward the very end of the year when the NCAA tournament his freshman year, and was just a great player. Well, anyway, the kids all called him Spoon. Well, when they introduced him or he'd make a basket, they were taking these spoons, silver spoons, out of the dining hall and clicking them together when Spoon was scoring or introduced. The dining hall had to go to plastic spoons. All the regular spoons were gone. So I don't know what they did the following year, but they didn't want to lose that many spoons again. And one thing about the players we had, they were really down-to-earth players. If you remember, after every game, many of the younger kids at the game, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 10th graders, would come out on the floor, and our players would be there giving them autographs and taking pictures with them, having pictures taken with them.
I was one of those kids.
Yeah, after every home game, they do that, and our players they liked it. They saw these young kids coming up, and somebody helped them, so they wanted to help somebody else, which is right. And so almost every game, the players would wait there just a second, and the young kids were out there waiting for autographs and on the programs and stuff like that. So it was a good feeling because of the way everything went, starting with really the players that really wanted to work hard and be good people.
That's a fantastic story with the spoons thing. I would have never thought that's how it originated. And actually, when he started making a bucket and stuff, they actually threw them out. They were throwing them out on the floor, well, to the edge there anyway. Yeah. But it just seemed like a sea of white, white spoons all over the place. But yeah, I remember it well. I really do.
He was, by the way, he was Division III Player of the Year his junior and senior years in the United States, Division III Player of the Year. And Jeff Van Gundy played for Nazareth at that time when Spoon was there. And then later, many years later, coached the New York Knicks, of course. And he was at a thing out in Chicago where the Chicago Bulls were playing Seattle. You might have seen The Last Dance, and it was part of that. Well, anyway, these reporters at the game said to Jeff, "Have you ever seen a player that couldn't be guarded like Michael Jordan? Anybody as tough to guard as Michael Jordan?" And Jeff says, "I have, but you wouldn't know who it is." He said, "Well, tell us who it is." He said, "His name was Leroy Weatherspoon, and he played for Potsdam." He said, "I was playing for Nazareth, and I tried to guard him. I couldn't. And the two guys that came in after me couldn't guard him either." He was just so quick and fast and good, Yeah.
There must be a lot of backstories with a lot of your players that there's got to be a situation or a story that stands out in your mind, road trips or something like that. Because I got a couple other questions that I want to put you on the spot, but there's got to be those road trip games or something that stands out in your mind about some player or something?
Well, I'll tell you one that just comes to my mind. John Day, who wrote for the Watertown Daily Times, covered us for the Watertown Daily Times. We're going to a tournament in NCAA tournament in Buffalo. And John called me, he says, I don't want to go alone. He says, could you pick me up in Watertown on the bus that you're going, a school bus, or not school bus, but a coach bus. And he said, I'll meet you right here. And I've forgotten where it was. It was a restaurant right off 81. And lo and behold, I was thinking the game so much, I forgot to pick it. And we got to Rochester, and I remembered, holy smokes, we can't turn around from Rochester. So I finally got a phone and got him in. He said, that's all right. I said, oh boy, I can't wait to hear the story after this game. Have me fired. But John was such a good guy, and he laughed all the way to it. So we left him right there.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It sounds like something Dave would do to me on the way through. Maybe. Anyway, so I'm going to put you on the spot. Since we're halfway through, I'm going to put you on the spot, and I do this with every coach. I know you've had undefeated championship seasons, but I have to ask you, what's your favorite team you've ever coached at Potsdam?
I got to ask, do you have any children?
Yes, I have 2 daughters.
Okay. I'm going to ask you this question first. Which one do you like better? You're going to say to me, you're going to say to me, I like them both the same. And as a father, you're going to say that. Well, I can't tell you which. I can tell you many teams I enjoyed coaching because of their attitude, their work ethic, their togetherness, their unselfishness, and all that. But I can't tell anybody which team was the best because there were so many good ones. And I wouldn't want to leave anybody thinking that I thought less of them than of somebody else.
That kind of puts me on a question number 2 then. Question number 2 is going to be, who's your favorite player you ever coached? But I guess you're not going to say that either.
I was so fortunate. I had so many good players. I mean, we had 14 All-American players. While I was at Potsdam at different times. 14, some of them a couple of years in a row, but 14 different players that were All-Americans at Potsdam. And we had some players that weren't All-Americans, but were just as dedicated and hardworking and everything. I saw the games there a few weeks ago. Tim Harris, who played for us and graduated in 87 during our 60-game winning streak, 86, 87, 85, 86. We're ahead in the national championship game in 1986. 2 of our players fouled out, Brendan Mitchell and John Leonard. And so the other team really came and almost caught us, Lemoyne Owen. And we're about a minute and a half to go in the game, and we're up 3. And wow, our 2 starters were out on fouls, or big men. And Tommy Conboy went to take a foul shot, and he missed the foul shot. But Tim Harris snuck in from behind there, got the rebound, pump faked, made the shot, and got a foul, and made the free throw. He turned nothing into 3 points. Who's to say if he hadn't got that, we might have not got that national championship or a 60-game winning streak or anything. So there's so many people that contributed. It's hard to say. I was talking to one of my former players. He called me after those 2 81 and 86 national championship games were on TV, and he asked me. He says, "Well, the only thing," he was on one of them. He said, "You didn't. They didn't ask you the question of which team was better." I said, "Well, how would I know which team was better?" He was on one of them. I said, "We never played each other, so how could I tell?" He said, "Well, yeah, but he says, I think we were better." Well, I said, "I would expect you to think that, but the players on the other team think they're better. As long as you think you're better, that's all you can say. There's no way we can prove it one way or the other. because I wouldn't want to get a game together with you two guys now, your two teams now. We would only have to play a half a game. I don't think you'd be able to play the whole game. And, but they were very competitive. That's why I didn't have to ever say to them, we got to work harder. They worked hard in every practice. If I were to say what was maybe a couple of things that caused the success, one was the attitude and work ethic of the players in each practice that we had. We had a player named Scott Culler, who graduated in 1984. He's from Suffolk County in Long Island. He's the head of a bank on the West Coast, several banks, but he's the head of the whole thing, in charge of everything, and doing really well. And he calls me about once every 6 weeks. And one time he called me a few years ago and he said, you know, Coach, he said, you know what the people in our office, in the main office, they call me? I said, no, what do they call you? He says, they call me Coach. I said, what do they call you Coach for? Because I try to run this office just like you used to run practice. Every second counted, every minute together, and all this and that. So he said, I try to run this thing just like you ran the practices, you know. And we used to have a brick drill, for mental mistakes only in practice. Not meant, if you're missing a layup, we'll work after it. A mental drill, like for example, we didn't allow swearing. That would be a mental mistake. And then if they didn't hustle back out of the game in their practice and tell a guy coming in what they're doing and this and that, or they didn't point to a guy that gave him a pass for a basket, just mental mistakes, you know. And then they would have to do a brick drill, sliding defensively between the one foul line to the other in 1 minute. And it was tough and so forth. It was hard, but it was a esprit de corps thing, and the players liked it and so forth. And well, at least they didn't say they didn't like it. And I said to Scott, well, you haven't started giving them brick drills yet, have you? In their office there? Just not yet.
That's a funny story. So Coach, let's move forward a little bit, and I want you to tell us a little bit about what you're doing at Duke now, because you're still teaching and doing other stuff down there. But just how did you get into the Duke University family, and what are you doing? What have you been doing, and what are you doing now?
Yeah, well, when I moved down, we moved down to Raleigh, North Carolina, because we had two daughters down there. Mary Kay, our oldest, was a really good job there. And Anne Marie, the younger, was going and graduating in 1 year from there at NC State. So we moved down there because of them. And we stayed there ever since. And while I was down there, I was there 1 year, and a guy named Pete Gaudette was the assistant coach at Duke. Called me, and I'd known him before. He said, you teach the theory and practice of coaching class at Potsdam, didn't you? And I said, yeah, I did. He said, well, I'm teaching it here at Duke, but I got to leave. I'm going to Vanderbilt. I got a more paying job. So I've been doing that theory and practice of coaching ever since. So I do that. This year, if I'm still going great and healthy and all that in a couple months, I'll be in my 63rd year as either a teacher, a coach, or an athletic director. And so I do it because I want to be helping people and being productive. But I also do it because I enjoy it. I only teach 2 mornings a week. I have 4 months off in the summer, about 2 months at Christmas. So it's not really, I just teach Tuesday and Thursday morning, but I'm with 2 classes and I'm really enjoying them. I had a student just this past Sunday that graduated from Duke and was in my class in the fall, a girl, and she called me up. We didn't have graduation at Duke this year, as any colleges didn't. And they were going to have a virtual graduation at her home. And all her relatives and stuff were going to do like we're doing tonight on Zoom. And it was all of the relatives and friends. And she asked me to be the graduation speaker for her. And I did. and like we're doing it here tonight. And there were so many wonderful families there and stuff, and not only there, but more on Zoom like we are tonight. So I enjoy meeting a lot of people. I've got students there that call me all the time and give me advice. They're now coaching volleyball, they're coaching some other sport, and want just to say hi. Steve Babiars, who I had at Potsdam, has been gone 30 years, graduated in '89, so maybe it's 31 years now. There hasn't been one month in those 30 or 31 years that he hasn't called me. He called me last Saturday, and he was down in Florida and working and so forth. So we still have a close relationship with most of the players. We talk a lot and tell each other what and so forth about what we're doing and so forth. So I think that's one of the things about coaching, and I think Joy will verify this. Joy does a great job. Not many coaches, high school coaches, work any harder than Joe, if any. And what I think is that it's a very rewarding job. You see people playing on your team, they're having fun. You see people on your team getting along with each other and having very great relationships as teammates. You see them learn to work hard, to be on time, to take pride in their work, to watch their improvement, to watch how they work so closely together. So it's really fun. And I know Joy as a person. I play golf with him and stuff. I know that he, in practice, his whole heart is in it the entire time, and the players too. That's why it's fun.
Well, thank you, Coach, for those kind words. You know what that means coming from you. So I appreciate that. It's funny you mentioned golf, because I had to bring up that I don't know if Pete and Dave know this, but that was really the first avenue that you and I met. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell a story. I'm playing, I'm in the Potsdam member guest, and I can't remember the year now. But I still remember the moment. I remember the day Jay Nagel called me, asked me to play. I said yes. And Jay sends me the schedule, and I see in my flight that you play 5 9-hole matches against 5 other two-man teams. And in my flight is Jerry Welch. And that is my first match of the tournament. And this is back when I could play. I didn't get nervous at that time playing golf. I was a good player. I was scared to death. And it wasn't because I was with Jerry. It was because I wanted to do well in front of Jerry. I don't want to go out of here. It had nothing to do with me being a basketball coach. I wanted to make sure you knew I could play golf, because I'm like, I know he loves golf. And if I have a good round, I'm going to have this guy. Well, you know what? I shot a 36 that day, Jerry. I still have the scorecard, because it was a big moment in my life. We beat you. That was another big moment. But I will never forget being able to do that. And then the amount of times that you and I got to play golf within that next 4 or 5 year period, because of Mark Flick and the Malone member guest and Jay Nagel and the Potsdam member guest. And we played a lot of golf together. And there was nothing I look forward to more than playing golf with you. To be able to hear your stories and talk basketball, and then to be able to play an enjoyable 18 holes of golf with you I couldn't ask for anything more than that. So it's one of the greatest stories. I will take that to, for the rest of my life. Be able to play golf with you is something I cherish.
Well, I do too, Joey. And the thing is, every year Joey runs this tournament for the athletic program at St. Lawrence Central. How many athletic directors would do that on their spare time, if he has any spare time, to try to do that to help his program? And he does it. The one thing I'm sorry about is that, because it was earlier and I was down in Raleigh, I never got a chance to play in it. But I know a lot of the players, and they really enjoyed it. And that's what Joey is. He's a worker. Joey, I tell our students today even that. I said, there's only one place that I know of that success comes before work, And they're looking and they say, well, I want to get into that. Where's that? I said, do you want to know where it is? It's in the dictionary. It's the only place that I know that success comes before work. And Joey is an example of that. The way he's led the entire program at St. Lawrence Central and his basketball program. And if we're talking on the phone sometime, he won't say to me necessarily about his basketball team. He'll say, well, geez, our football team or our hockey team is doing well and this and that. And he's got the interest and desire to help everybody at that school.
Well, again, I can't say thank you enough, Jerry. I appreciate that. And I think there's plenty of people in the North Country that would say the same. You have nothing but kind words for everybody. All the names that you have mentioned tonight, Pete, Dave, and I recognize as North Country legends themselves. It's funny, Pete mentions that week of where you missed 3 or 4 days, 3 days of your own camp. And it made me immediately think when Pete and Dave and I interviewed Coach Mitchell this year for his blue and orange tournament, he was running back and forth, going down to watch his son play his last games for Ithaca. And it just made you saying what you just did 30 years ago at Pete's basketball camp it's the same thing Coach Mitchell just did. He entrusted it to people that were good people. He knew he could step away for a day or two because look at the people I'm handing this over to run. And look at the names that you mentioned when you said you had to leave that week, Coach Howerhand and Coach Myrna. I mean, those are two people I'm pretty sure could run a basketball camp without any problem. So, the people that have been connected to you, so lucky. And I think we all say that. It's funny. I got a check from Jerry Howerhand today for my basketball tournament. I told him he did not have to do that. Didn't matter. Sent me a check anyway. Yeah. Those are the type of people that they got that from you, Jerry. I'm not saying that they wouldn't have had it anyway, but you've played a big role in all of us in how we treat people in the North Country. You're the most respectful person I've ever come across, without a doubt.
Well, thank you. The one person I haven't mentioned tonight is a person that came in 1985. He came in the summer of '85. Bill Mitchell. He came from Michigan, University of Michigan, and had an opening as an assistant coach. And he was with us, and he came in the day before our camp. We had 875, and that whole weekend was. I think he would have been scared and gone away, but he's not that type of guy. He became our coach, and he was just a tremendous help all the time that he was with us. And he's still there, still working there, and still respected. And we're really good friends. He almost got spoiled, though. The first 60 games that he was assistant coach here, we won them all. And I said to him after the last one, I said, Mitch, you don't think this is going to happen every year, do you? He said, no, but he's a true friend and a great worker there and a great family.
Coach, so I want to bring up a name from your past also, Stan Cohen.
Yes.
Please enlighten us about this man. He's been by your side through thick and thin for years, and just a great man. If you can enlighten us about Stan.
Sure was, and we miss him. We miss him very much. I mentioned that when the championships were on TV there. He's really a brilliant basketball man, and even a better person. 1973, he wasn't coaching. And he came over to see me. He said, would you like an assistant coach, another assistant coach? He said, I just want to be involved in basketball. I thought I didn't want to. I do. Keep working. So he joined us in 73, and he stayed 17 years with me. And when I left, he stayed another 17 years as assistant to Bill Mitchell and then Sherry Dobbs. And uh, then he retired completely, and unfortunately he passed away. Every player that ever played with us respects him and likes him and appreciates all the help he gave them. And Stan was just a unique person that I don't think the man had an enemy in the world because he was so good to everybody.
He seemed to be the calm in the middle of the storm in some of the huddles. I noticed when you guys had the team. So I'm sure he was just that, a good man.
He was. Yeah, we were fortunate, some good people at Potsdam. The faculty at Potsdam and the coaches, all other coaches, you know, John Horn in hockey, and oh gosh, we had Bob Surface in soccer, and we had so many swimming coaches and this and that. It was an honor to just be on with them. You know, they didn't get the publicity necessarily the basketball team got, but they worked just as hard and were really good at it.
But Coach, it's unbelievable what, you know, we've been so lucky to be able to talk to you tonight, but we're going to have so many of your former opponents. We got Coach Conowitz is coming up.
He's a good coach.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right now, he's a good coach.
He's coming up. Coach Spanbauer from SUNY Cortland, who you coached when he was a player at SUNY Cortland.
And a good player and a hard-working player. Yeah.
And Pete and I had Pete and Dave and I also, we interviewed Coach Curl 5 or 6 years ago. That was a great show. We loved that show to death. We've interviewed Coach Mitchell. So we've had a lot of your SUNYAC connections, lucky enough to have them on. And when, you know, to me, just like North Country, when I think SUNYAC basketball, you're the first person I'm going to think of. So to be able to get these people along, and part of the reason we're able to get them, Jerry, is because when you agreed to come on, well, if Jerry Welch is coming on, then we'll come on. So,
Absolutely.
So we need to thank you for not only coming on, but helping us get these other people to come on as well, because we want to hear their stories.
Missy West was put in the Hall of Fame, North Country Hall of Fame, the same time I did, and about 3 years ago, I think it was. And we all had to get up and say something. And who do you think got called up just before me? Missy. And so I get up there. I says, the guy that was running, I says, what did I do wrong? I said, you put me behind Missy. She's one of the best speakers I've ever heard.
Yeah, she is.
She is great. She came to our class at Duke and spoke to our class. Oh, tremendous. Just knowledge and the way she presents herself and interest in it. And she's dynamite. You know? And probably, I think, that I've seen, the best female athlete ever in Northern New York, I think.
I think we would agree with that.
Yes.
She was in my class.
I would say.
She was in my class at Duke, and I used to watch her play at Duke when she was there too. But she was a great softball player and a great soccer player, everything. Yeah.
Yeah, we made mention that during the show. Absolutely.
Yeah. She's living in Florida now, right?
Yeah.
Tampa.
We had her on about a month ago. She came on the show, so it was great. I mean, it was a great show. So she was awesome.
Yeah, I remember when she was coming up here to speak at Franklin Academy, Messina, St. Lawrence Central, maybe one other one. And I called all the athletic directors, including yourself. I said, whatever you do, get your students to listen to her. They'll never hear anybody that'll impress them more as a female for athletics as her. And you did. They did. Yep.
Oh, I'd have her come speak anytime she wants to come speak. She can come speak.
You bet.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah. I've probably left somebody out that I should have thanked and recognized, and I apologize. And if I think of them, I'm going to call them up and tell them that. But some people I've left out tonight that have helped me. I wouldn't have won games with our team if I hadn't had the help and the direction of so many others. And I hope I know I've left some out tonight, but we'll definitely call them if I can think of it. Okay.
Well, Coach, I'm honored that you came on our show. I really am, and blessed. This is an honor for me to talk to you personally like this, and then we get to share it with everybody, which is going to be fantastic. When Joey messaged me the night and said we got Coach Welch, I was so excited. It's like, oh, that's awesome.
Keep up the
That's
good
the
work.
cream of the crop, Coach.
Now, listen, you've been telling me that all night.
Yeah.
But I want to tell you that you're helping the people in Northern New York with all these speakers once a week and so forth. There's not much to do now. Also, no sports on TV, no this, no that. So I'm sure that a lot of the people are appreciative of you bringing on people in sports that they can watch too. So you guys deserve a lot of credit for that.
No, we appreciate it, Coach. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
We're going to have to wind it down now. I've enjoyed our hour. It went by so quick.
Mhm.
I wish we had more time, but that's going to be it for tonight.
Okay, thank you.
For our hosts, Joey Riom, Dave Bartlett, myself, Pete Goslaw, Coach Welch. I can't say any more. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Coach.
This has been the Wise Guys Sports Talk Show here on ESS, Empire State Sports. We hope everybody enjoyed listening to Coach Welch and us babble on about the Mecca of North Country sports, Potsdam State. Good night, everybody, and stay safe.